to event.target checked, because this material UI gives off a value as in event target or checked. It is either checked or unchecked, checked, unchecked, true or false, true or false. So here we're going to say checked. That's this checked is if it should be checked either true or false. We want it to change as its value is changing. So checked. And unchanged. Unchanged, we want you to handle change. And then impute props. This is something that comes with it from material UI. I'm just going to add it here. Let's check it out. So what we're going to do is that we're going to create a div down here. Not really a div, but just a check. Get it? Checked. So if it's checked, it will display sign up. And if it's not checked, it will display login. So let's see. See, showing login, sign up, login, sign up, login, sign up. So it's working perfectly right now. Perfectly. So let's see. We also want to inform the user. Okay, let's not do that now. Let's just leave that for now. Let's go ahead and do the chip element, which is this. The size change it. Really nice. So let's go ahead and do that. So it's going to be above the switch. We're just going to do it checked. If it's checked, do this. Give class name. Want the text to be x 3 times large, very large. Then we'll get the chip avatar. Register your account. Then the color want to be success. Label want it to be register your account. And then we'll close this. Then here, if it's false, we want it to be div class name. And we also want this to be text 3 times large. Then we also want to get this chipped. Let's just copy and paste this. Now here we want it to be primary, and we want it to be logged into your account. Okay, so this should be working. All right, so we can see really nice, except that R should be, this should be L. Login, register, login, register. Awesome. Now we need to start the inputs. So we're using Daisy UI inputs. Let's go to the text inputs. We're going to be using Daisy UI inputs, and we can see in this, if you click out, it's showing a red error because your email is not valid. But if you put a valid email, it will not show red anymore. It will show green. That means yes, you are doing the right thing. So we're also going to do that. So let's start with our register, because register has a lot of items. All right, so this is our register. First of all, we're going to import UseState because we're going to use that for getting the data from the inputs. And also we're also going to do validations. If you didn't know, I have created a video on this. It's in the link in the description. I detail it more effortlessly there. I'm going to detail it more there than here. Here, I'm just going to breeze through it. So if you want more explanation on validations and stuff like that, and UseState and validations, just check the video in the link in the description. The video will be there. Okay. So now let's get to this. Let's get to this. We're going to take the div. We're going to say star. It needs to be on margin up top. So we'll say class name margin top 5. Okay, so we need the full name of the user. I think we need the full name, we need the email address, we need the password. I also need to confirm the password. So let's start. Let's get that started. So the first things first, we're going to create a div to wrap the full name and the full name input. First thing here is we can take a div class, take class name, and say margin top 3, margin bottom 2, align left, full name, okay. So the text needs to be white. Let's see if we can. Okay, that is not working. Okay, so our text is not changing. Okay, let's log in. Let's register. Our text is not changing to white here, which is not ideal. So let's go back here. Why isn't our text changing to white? What we're going to do, we're just going to come here and we're just going to say style color. Okay, so we're okay with that. Let's come back here. All right, so we need to get our inputs. The type is email. The placeholder is full name. Okay, so this is not email, this is type of text. Sorry about that. So after the placeholder has full name, we want to also say class name. Now this class name, want to say inputs, want to say input border, want to say inputs are sent, and want to say text dark 0, and want to say width full. This text dark 0 is just saying the text we're typing into it should be dark because the background of the input is white. So if you don't specify the text, the text should be white and then user won't see what it's typing in. So after this, we just need to close this and check our application. So we can see text is dark and everything is a-okay here. So let's also do that for the email address as well. Let's go back and we have a div. Okay, email. Now we're going to come back. Email address, full name. Okay. We also need password. Let's not forget that. Start from here, sorry. So here should be password. And here will be confirm password. Okay. All right. So we forgot to change the placeholder. So the placeholder here should be email address. Placeholder here should be password. The placeholder here should be confirm. Okay. So I think that is good. Now we need to start fetching the data the user is going to be typing in. So what we're going to do, we're going to create states, use states for that. Let's come up here. Let's put some space. We're going to create one. We're going to say input data. So we'll say constant name input set name input equals to use state. And then we're just going to copy this, come here, email, and password. Then over here we need the confirm password. Okay, so we've gotten the input data. Now we need to, connect it with the inputs over here. So the first one is full name. So we're going to say on change. On change, we're going to create a function over here, and it's just automatically going to set name inputs. No event dot target. Okay, so let's copy this, copy, come back here, paste this, set email input password, come here. Just those to paste. Now come back here and say set confirm password. Okay, so now that we've done the use state for all the inputs, let's take a look at our code. We come back here and everything is set up. We also want to set this at first to be true so that it just immediately shows the register tab instantly when we refresh, so we don't keep switching it. All right, so now that we've set the use states, what we want to do is we want to do validation for all these inputs. I've done a video on validation before. If you want to see that video, I'll put the link in the description.
Okay, why do we have this here? Thank our people. Why is this part of the page white? White. Let's take a look at the footer. Coin market cap. And let's restart our server. No. Our server restarted on. Okay. Close. Okay. So that was just a glitch. All right. So just come here. Okay, seems to only affect this page. I wonder why. Let's check our code again. Index form. Sign up. All right, so I don't really know why it's happening only for this section. We're just going to ignore this. Maybe later on we'll revisit it because we don't really need that to fix that right now. We'll revisit this later on. Well, let's check for the other main pages. You can see here. Okay, I think I know what the issue is. The color is only working for that specific screen height. Let's try and fix that before we continue our. Well, let's just continue with validation. We'll fix that later on. Let's just continue with the validation. All right, for the first name, we're going to create a different folder where we're going to store all our validations. We're going to create a lib folder, and in this lib folder, we're going to create another folder here and title it validation. This is going to be the validation for all our food. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to go create all the validations first, then start linking them here. So we're going to go to our lib file folder, our validations, and we're going to create a new file, and we're going to name that file input validations.js. All right, so first things first, we're going to work with the email validation. Export constants. Use email. Taking the email, and then we want to pass it through a series of checks to see if it's an email. I've done a video on this before, like I've mentioned. Make sure to check the description. You'll see a link to those videos. We're also going to do name validation. We're going to export the constant all later. You're going to get the text. We're going to say if we take the text and we trim it to make sure there's no white spaces. The length, if it is less than 7, because we're asking for the user's full name, and the full name will definitely be more than 7 characters. Text to string. Then we also want to check if it's greater than like 30, because then it will be too long for us to be putting in the database. Once we return, if it is less than 7 or greater than 30, we want to return false. else we want to return true. Then we want the password validation. We want to export constant. Check password. And we're going to collect the password. And we're going to say if we're going to pass it through a series of checks. We're going to paste here. Now, what we're saying in essence in this is that we want capital letter or small letter, then it should be between 7. It should not be less than 7, and it should not be greater than 14 characters. And we're checking it, testing it. So if this is okay, if it passes through this and it is fine, we want to return true. Else we want to return false. Then we want to also do the proof. Okay, no, we're just going to do that for now. Password. All right. So we're going to go back to our sign up page. Sign up. All right. So what we want, the effect we want to create is if a user clicks on this and inputs something wrong, when he clicks out, then it will check and tell the user whether it is wrong or it is right. So what we're going to use an onBlur. After you focus it's an event handler. After you focus and you type, once you click out of these elements, the onBlur event will be triggered. So that's what we're going to use. So let's create the functions to check for this input. Then we'll also now link it to the input with the onBlur event handler. So first of all, we're going to check for the handle onBlur name error constant handle name error. We're going to say if name, there's nothing in the name input. That means if the user clicks on the input and then clicks out and there's nothing inside, it's an error. Or if the all letter it should just okay, so it's not coming. So what we're going to do, we're going to come up here, we're going to say validations. We're going to import is email or letter and check password file. Where's our link folder here? Our link folder is not here, which means this is outside the coin finder. So let's take that and bring it here. All right, so it's back in where we want it to be. Okay, if I hit deep validations, increase validation. All right, so we come back. If what we get from the all letter is false, and what are we passing into the all letter? We're passing into it the name inputs. If it comes back as false, then we want to set name error. All right, now we need to create error states. So let's do that before we continue. Error states. We're going to create one for the name error. Yes, that's correct. Set name error. New states. And at first this is going to be false because the user has not done anything. this error should be false. Now we're going to also do email error set email error. I'm also going to do password error and set the password error. So here we're now going to say set the email error to be true because it did not successfully pass our checks, and then return. If it passes through this and it is okay, then we want to set the name error to be false. Now let me just quickly explain this real quick. If someone inputs their name, right, and they onBlur, they click out of the input, it will go through this check. It will check if it is empty, it will set the error to true. Yes, there's an error in the name. If it passes through this all letter and it turns out that there's a number in it, it will also come here and set the error to be true. But if it passes all this and it is okay, it will skip this and then set the name error to be false. So that's what we just want to do. So let's also do this same thing for the handle onBlur. onBlur area. And first, also find the email error. We're saying if there's nothing in the email input, we want to set, if there's nothing in it at all, set email error to be true. And return. Then we want to say else. If the is-email check comes out as false, we also want to set email error to be true. Then we want to return. Then set email. If it goes through all this check and it finds out it is okay, I want to set the email error to be false. All right, now we're also going to the password. Now, password ID is password. Also, let's create a little indication of what we're doing. Handle onBlur confirm password, because over here okay, let's just finish typing this. Okay, let's see. Okay, now over here, if the user types something like here, right, we don't want to show an error when he onBlurs because he also needs to confirm the password. Now, if we now come to confirm the password and the user types HE and he clicks out of that, it will check these two things to see if they match. If they don't match, it will then throw up an error here saying the password and confirm password don't match. So we need to go back and retype them. So that's what we're just doing. So first things we're going to say, if the confirm password is empty, if there's nothing in it, set password error to be true and return. And else, if confirm password does not match password input,